What's up, everybody? It's your boy back with another reaction video. I'll be checking out 4 True 7-Eleven Horror Stories Animated. I think this is from Mort. I don't remember off the top of my head. I meant to write it down. But anyway, I'll be leaving a link in the description so you go check out this video yourself. Go show them some love, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. You know what it is. This ain't brand new to you. So, without further ado, here we
I spend my days as a humble worker at 7-Eleven. More specifically, I was a store manager and franchise owner. I was no software engineer or doctor, and while my family did have their opinions on what I did for a living, my job paid rather well. I was a very...
Why would your family would they have negative opinions? You franchise in a store, you technically own it. I mean, really, you actually do own it. I mean, you licensing the copyright of 7-Eleven, but you own that store. So, like, what's been the problem? I haven't been in a 7-Eleven in shit. Well, no, I went to 7-Eleven last year when I went down to St. Louis to see my dad. I went to 7-Eleven.
different man in my past.
I forgot
Deciding to go
because
the
I
route
just
of
stopped
franchising
there.
a store was a more hands-on career path that mostly kept me in check. It was a low-stress but high-labor job, and that was honestly perfect for me. The job was almost therapeutic to me. It gave me something to take care of, something to look forward to every day. Of course, I couldn't do this alone. Working with me in my daytime shifts were workers Molly and Adam. Molly and Adam were young. They were working there to pay off their college tuition. We all considered ourselves like a family to each other. Molly, Adam, and I grew super close to each other in our time working there. They were like the kids I never had, and this naturally made me a little protective over them. We would always encounter weird or upset customers, and it was usually me who had to stand up for them. I didn't want anything to happen to them.
Vitamins
They were so young.
plus
Nothing bad had
2?
happened to
What is
Molly or
that?
Adam yet, and I was grateful for that. But one early morning,
Energy.
that changed. It was a Tuesday morning. I want to say the incident occurred around 9 a.m. The sun was out and things seemed to be going normal. This time of day was always peaceful. There was usually never any problems. Eventually, a blue sedan pulled into the parking lot. Inside of the car was a rather average-looking middle-aged man. He stepped out of the car and started filling it with gas.
The fuck
While
is
the
wrong
car
with
was
his
going,
face?
He then proceeded to the front of the store. As per their training,
Like he
Molly and Adam greeted
yeah,
him.
herpes or
The
something.
man just nodded and started walking around the aisles. He then looped back around the store, approached Molly, and started flirting with her.
Ugh.
Molly was visibly uncomfortable.
His
And while
teeth.
I wanted to go to the back of the store and do my inventory logging, I couldn't do this. Not with the man hitting on Molly like that.
He need to get all
Adam,
his
however,
teeth
told me
pulled
that
out
he
and
could handle
get
the man if he
implants.
started acting any weird.
I know it's expensive, but
Naturally,
get a
I trusted
loan or
him.
something.
I reluctantly stepped in the back room and started counting down and logging all the items that were there. While I was doing this, however, I kept looking back towards the man to see what he was doing.
Wait, why you got like bottles that are like half full and like 3/4 full? What universe is in where they just say energy, vitamins, protein? Yeah, what's up with this? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just a animation thing. He just didn't feel that out. But what if he was actually like drinking those or putting those back? That's what they always say. Check the seal. Because I've done that before. I bought something and opened it as a ginger ale. I'll never forget this. And it made the noise, but the seal part didn't crack when I opened it. I was like, I noticed that, and I was like, what the fuck? Took that shit back to the stove. They tried to give me like a hard time, and I was just being polite though. One minute an asshole, and the manager was like, I'll take care of this. So he just got me another one. But he said, good, go, you can go get another one. I went and got another one, and that was it.
It seemed like the man was looking back at me.
Sometimes you just gotta be nice,
This
not be
was
an
odd
asshole.
for a number of reasons. Customers aren't supposed to be this close to the back of the store, and he kept awkwardly peering in through the utility room. To make things worse, every time I looked back, the man started to try and act busy. It was like he was trying to pass time or look natural for some reason. I stepped out of the room and asked the man if I could help him. He seemed to
He looked
awkwardly
at
and
him
rudely
like,
shun me off and keep pacing around the store, pretending like he was looking for something. For some reason, I decided to ignore all these red flags and continue my work in the back.
he looks
Eventually,
concerned.
while Molly was
More
passing
sort
by
of
the
like
back room,
crazy.
she whispered to me that the man was making her very uncomfortable. I told her that once I finished with the shelf I was working on, I would quickly go outside and help her. I essentially told her to hang in there and wait behind Adam. It was super confusing what the man even wanted. He seemed to have stopped flirting with Molly
Is he
completely.
schizophrenic?
Was
Is he
instead
having
focused on
delusions
trying
or
to peer
something?
through
What's
the
going
back
on?
door for some reason. As annoying as this was, I just wanted to get through my work. I had one
He
last
looks
crate of
scared
granola
now,
bars to lock
concerned.
down, and I didn't want this weird man to stop that. But that's when I heard a commotion coming from the main room. Excuse me, sir. You're not allowed to
Okay.
be back there. What are you trying
See
to
all
pull
hopped
off?
up on
Call the
goofballs?
police, Adam, I heard Molly exclaim right after that. I quickly ran out of the storage room to see what was happening and saw the commotion. The man in the blue car was trying to pull something off. I saw Molly in shock and fear in the corner, and Adam with his fists up standing right in front of her. Hey, what do you think you're doing? I asked the man. Whoa, what kind of place is this? What's even back there? What are you guys hiding? Get out of here. The sign clearly says employees only. You expect me to
It
just
says
sit
staff
here and let
only.
you get away with this?
So you're
No
lying
way.
already.
We were all in complete shock. Adam tried to calm the man down, however. Sir, we don't need to get violent, okay? You can just calm down and we don't have to. I don't want to hear another word from you psychos. The man snapped back at Adam. Molly started to cry. She was ready to
Kids
dart out
too
the
having
store.
an episode.
The man then started reaching for his pocket. We had no idea what he was going to pull out. I tackled the man in the back of the shop and screamed at Adam and Molly to just head away and call the police. A few more minutes of us rustling in the utility room occurred. I managed to headlock the man, but he just kept hitting me off. After a few more minutes of us rustling and fighting in the back, the cops eventually got there. But sadly, they couldn't find him on the scene. We got the man's face on security camera, and his car was still at the pumps. We had both his face and his license plate on camera. Despite all this, the police just left. They couldn't find any sign of him, and they assumed that he just ran out through one of the other back doors. As the cops
They
left,
walk with their
I made sure
guns
to
out.
dump the man's body right next to the first.
Whoa.
As I mentioned before, I was a different man in my past. This job really changed me. It seemed like the man in the blue car clearly noticed the other body I had. Normally, it's pretty well hidden. Not even Molly or
It
Adam
doesn't
could find it.
stink back there? What
But I
the
guess
fuck?
one of
You
the
a
legs
killer?
must have been sticking out or something like that while I was moving stuff around. I re-looked at the security footage to make sure there was no evidence left behind. It seemed like the man wasn't reaching for a gun or a knife. He was reaching for his phone to call the police. I really didn't want it to be this way, but he knew my secret. The man was now part of my
What's
collection.
secret?
Molly and Adam still have no idea
Did you
what
cut
happened,
his
and you
face?
bet
A
I'm
smile
planning
on
to
his
keep it
face?
that way. They can't find out anything about my past. If they did, they'd be shattered. For now,
Did
my
you a
secret remains
homicidal
safe from the public
maniac?
eye, and I will ensure no one remembers that day. It was a somewhat nippy
What a
autumn night,
twist.
and I was about halfway into my shift. I was a young man, and I took up any
I
job
did
I
not
really
expect
could at the
that.
time. In this case, it was the late shift at 7-Eleven. In the United States, 7-Elevens are open 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. This meant that someone had to take up that horrid night shift, and that person was me. As much as the job messed up my sleep schedule, it did help me do my coursework during the day, and it did pay a bit better than the normal shifts. I've been told that working in a convenience store is among the most dangerous jobs in the States, and this claim was honestly understandable. Although my city is decently safe, the people who go to 7-Elevens late at night are a lot different than your normal shopper. From what I saw, it was either crazy crackheads higher than a kite, or a bunch of drunken teenagers falling all over the place trying to make another booze run. This was extremely annoying. My coworker Colin and I were largely responsible for kicking these people out. And while it was an inconvenience, it never got truly out of hand or unsafe. This all changed one Thursday night, however. My coworker Colin had some sort of family emergency to take care of, and this resulted in him having to skip a few shifts. This meant that I was in charge of handling the dreaded 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. shift completely alone. This truly annoyed me. Colin was a really chill guy. His conversations made the hours go by much faster, and without him, I'd just be alone in some dirty store in the middle of the night. Regardless,
I ain't gonna lie, I would love that shift. Like, I work late shifts now, but I would probably prefer like a 10 to like 5 or 6. Than what he said 8 to 4. But still, like late at night, and Yeah, far less people now. You do, like I said, like he said, you do have to deal with some maybe less than desirable people, but you have to deal with this less people in general. Because even in the daytime, I work jobs like retail, and you have to deal with maybe not as many drunks or high people, but just people who are just assholes. So they only have the excuse of being drunk or high. They just like that.
I received my orders from my manager, and I had to do what I had to do. I arrived at my shift around 5 minutes late as usual, and things were initially going
As
like
usual.
completely normal. The people that walked in consisted of the usual late night shoppers and people in their pajamas stopping for gas last minute. It seemed like a completely normal weekday night at first. But then, a little past the midnight hour, things got really strange. It was 12:15 at night, and I was sitting on my small chair next to the counter. I had just plugged in my phone into a charger as it was running low on battery from using it all night, and that's when I noticed a car pull up to one of the pumps. It was a large black SUV. The windows in the back were either completely shattered or lazily replaced with cardboard and duct tape. A tall and rather large-built man stepped out in a trench coat and boots. He turned over to the front door of the store and started to calmly approach it. I just kept glancing at my phone, however. Most people walk in, quickly get something, and leave. There was no need for formalities at this hour.
Isn't that
"You
illegal in
call
most
this
states
customer service?" The man said
to
in a
have your
low,
back
husky
window
voice.
covered like
It
that?
took me a second or two to process that. The people who come in here, especially at this time, aren't exactly expecting award-winning service. "Oh, sorry, sir. Is there anything I can get for you?" The man just laughed. "Oh, kid, there's nothing you can get for me, but there is something you can do." At first, I thought the man was going to ask for some weird sexual favor. Funnily enough, I'd been asked this before.
Like, can
while
you
I was
suck
on the
my
job.
dick,
You
kid?
see, I'm not a young man like you. My joints, they don't function like they used to. And you see my car over there? Well, it could use a wash and fill. The man's attitude and overall demeanor were really weird. The way the guy was talking was unsettling as it is. I mean, if the guy could walk all the way over here just fine, why couldn't he fill his own gas or wash his own windshield? However, state law says I have to assist any handicapped or impaired customers if they request it. There was no handicapped sticker on the man's car or any sign that he was disabled in any way. But hey, if they request it, I have to help them. "All right, sir, give me a moment," I replied as I placed my phone to the side. I then turned on the pump from my control
Stay
panel and started
here.
heading towards the car. Look at those youthful muscles work. I love to see it. For whatever
What the
reason,
fuck?
I ignored the man's creepiness and continued heading towards the car.
That
The
is
sooner I cleaned
downright
his windshield and
unsettling.
filled his tank, the sooner he'd be out of there. At least that's what I hoped. As I stepped out of the building, the man seemed to remain in the store. He seemed to be browsing up and down the shelves or something. Whatever. I got to the vehicle, and sure enough, the gas cap was wide open and ready for me. As I was filling the van with gas, I couldn't help but think about what the man said. He seemed honestly fine and was totally capable of putting a nozzle in the gas tank. It made me wonder why I was even out there in the first place. But hell, if I could just get this weirdo out of there, I could get back inside to just messing around with my phone. After about a minute or two, the tank was
Just
full,
like
and it
a
was time for me to wash the
Gen Z.
man's windshield. As I stepped
Don't
around
want an
towards the back
honest
of the
day's
van,
work.
however, I heard the back door shut. As weird as this was, keep in mind the car was really beaten down and old. It's kind of expected
Yeah,
for
it looks
car
like a
that
piece
to
of
make
shit.
weird noises, especially on a windy night like this one. I quickly pulled out the
This ain't
sponge and
Europe
squeegee
somewhere?
and started to get to work.
With that
But
license
as I was
plate?
cleaning the glass, that's when I felt it. The discomfort, the odd sensation of being watched or stalked. As I turned around, I felt a hand go over
Oh,
my
wow.
eyes, and soon my mouth. I barely had any time to comprehend what was even happening. 1 second I was cleaning
Oh, I
glass,
thought
and
he's
next I was being
stabbing him in the
headlocked.
back.
I
with
then
his
heard the
other hand.
familiar sound of the front door to the store opening and heavy footsteps coming my way. Too many thoughts were racing through my head at this moment, but somehow,
They tryna have a
somewhere,
good
I
time
mustered
with your
everything
ass,
I had
boy.
and flung myself as back hard as I could. The person holding me down
Fucking
crashed into the
Deliverance.
gas pump and shrieked in pain. "Damn it, Carl," the tall man said. I rolled back onto my feet and sprinted as hard as I could, my breath getting heavier and heavier every large stride I made. I managed to run across into a neighborhood and dive into the bushes, slowly peeping my head out to see if they were still following me in the van. After the longest 10 or so minutes of my life, my adrenaline died down, and I finally got the courage to step out of the bush. Just as I was about to call my manager and then the cops,
You
it
left
hit
your
me.
phone.
My phone was still in the store charging.
I remember he said
Thankfully,
he put it
however,
down.
a close friend of mine lived in the neighborhood I ran away towards.
Oh, that's a
I knocked on his
coincidence.
door and told him everything.
Or I
Naturally,
should say
we called the
convenient.
police. When we went back to the station after the police told us they'd arrived,
Yes.
my manager was already there.
LTC phone.
Somehow,
I mean
my manager
HTC
and the
phone.
police were as or more surprised than I was. Things like this rarely happen in my city. We always considered it a safe place. The police immediately looked through the CCTV footage as my manager suggested, and what we saw shocked us even more. When I had stepped out to wash and fill the van, the man jumped over the counter and tried to find and disable the security cameras in their footage. He couldn't manage to do this, so he just stepped outside and decided that deleting the footage wasn't worth all the time. We managed to capture the men's faces on video right after.
I'm surprised that he
We
he
then
can
submitted the footage to the
lead
higher
out
level
the
police
store.
to see what was happening. It turns out the men were known human traffickers
Oh,
and were
wow.
on the run from previous kidnappings. The license plate on the van seemed to be fraudulent or stolen, as the numbers only matched a completely different vehicle on the other side of the state. The investigators believed that the men stopped by my city on the way to somewhere else, as they figured it was a safer area and people wouldn't expect them to be there. I quit my job at 7-Eleven immediately after that.
He said, fuck
The
this
event
job.
scarred me. Every time I stepped into another gas station, I would always get reminded of how I almost got kidnapped.
Yeah, you almost got
Needless
kidnapped
to
and
say,
fucked up.
I would never pick up a job like that again.
He's a you nice
It was a
strong
normal
boy.
Saturday like
Good
any other.
joints.
While most people were
you'll
having
fetch a
fun or
pretty
enjoying their
penny.
weekend, I was cooped up behind a register. I worked at 7-Eleven, and let's just say when you're in my financial situation, you don't really get a huge choice of what you can do over weekends. And while I could make a whole video on how much I hated mopping floors while my richer friends were out having fun, I wanted to get something off my chest.
Well, just rob 'em.
Something more serious, more sinister. I was working the primetime shift between 12 and 8. During this time of year, this is usually when the crowds of people get the largest. The area I live in is quite affluent. I mentioned this before, but my neighbors and my friends are quite rich. This led to a more interesting demographic with my customers. Wealthier people don't tend to shop at gas station convenience stores unless they have to. Most of them end up buying from premium grocery stores down the road. Unless it was some sort of necessity or emergency, no one really went inside. And even if they did, it was always something along the lines of a water bottle or some food or a snack for the road. The result of this was people mostly just serving themselves at the pump and me just sitting and doing nothing. As boring as
Sound
this
like a
was,
perfect
I honestly
job.
enjoyed just sitting and chilling out while people
Well,
served
you ain't gotta do
themselves.
shit.
This gave me the opportunity to
very
do some
little.
schoolwork or listen to music. On weekends during this time of year, however, this dynamic changed. On weekends, there were junior soccer tournaments in local regions. These kids' league soccer competitions meant that travelers would either go into or through our town. This also meant that I had to work a little harder. People were getting more than just water. It would always be something like towels or hand sanitizers or the occasional coffee for the tired chaperone. Being fully aware it was soccer season, I really wasn't surprised at all that there were various large SUVs or minivans constantly pulling into the station. After all, youth soccer is very, very popular in the United States. But bear in mind, this was only during the rush hours. The flurry of cars would only come in right before the game started or right after they ended, nothing really in between. So when a minivan with a chaperone sticker on the side pulled in at around 3 p.m., I was obviously confused. These games usually end at around 5 p.m. That means the rush hour starts at around 5:30 when everyone's leaving. But I said hell with it. Minivans are among the most popular vehicles in the US. Would it really be that uncommon for someone to just own one? And besides, a lot of things could have happened. Maybe a kid got injured and they had to leave early.
You thinking
Maybe
about a
making
lot of
things
shit,
now to
ain't you?
avoid the rush hour later.
Like,
Again, a smart choice.
I mean,
So I just resumed.
none of this
strolling
really
on the
concerns
phone.
him.
But after several
But
minutes, the van was still
I'm probably
there.
thinking that too.
This is obviously not a normal amount of time for a vehicle to stop. But after the few long, awkward minutes
Oh,
went
and it's
by,
some
the
ugly
driver
ass
stepped
dude.
out.
Too.
The driver was a scruffy,
Fucked up
middle-aged man.
pubic
He
hair on
had a
his face.
somewhat long beard, but seemed overall unkempt. He then tried to fill the car with gas. He seemed to struggle for a few minutes trying to get the
He's
pump
an
to work.
idiot.
The pump seemed to be having problems with his credit card.
Oh,
This
is he a
wasn't all
fake
too
card?
uncommon. Our transaction processing system likes to reject cards it thinks are fraudulent.
Oh, y'all
But
incompetent.
off late, it's been acting up and rejecting
The
normal
7-Eleven is
The
incompetent.
man walked into the store, and I greeted him like I usually do. Welcome in, sir, I told the man.
Welcome in,
The man
fuckface.
sort of angrily ignored what I said and walked up to the counter. As intimidating as this was, I've had my fair share of angry customers. It's something I'd been through. The damn pump. It ain't taking my card. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Our systems are kind of weird. Would you like to pay with cash instead? Fine, just take this. I need to go use the bathroom. The man left me with a wad of $10 bills.
Oh, is
and
that
I
what
went
that
to
is?
use the
Look like
bathroom.
leaves.
Clearly, the guy was having a bad day. I better get that pump rolling quick.
Fuck his day.
So I opened up the terminal and tried to get things running. However, this wasn't working either. Normally, customers can walk in and prepay a certain amount of cash at a certain pump, but it looked like the terminal wasn't
I'd
responding
be
itself.
like, it
Something
was
was
like, you're having a bad day. I work at fucking 7-Eleven. Fuck you.
genuinely wrong with this pump. The man was still in the bathroom, and I really wasn't in the mood to go and tell him that he had to move his vehicle. He was already cranky that his card got rejected. I didn't want to start another conflict with him.
Fuck him.
My next most logical option was to go to the pump itself.
Is
and
that
try and
Chinese on
manually override
those
it.
jars?
And that's
Like, what
exactly
is
what I
that?
did. My manager had
Japanese?
taught me a few months ago how to put the pumps in admin.
Is that
mode.
hieroglyphics?
This
Like,
would
what is
allow us to
this?
see if there was something physically wrong with the pump or it was just deciding not to work. But unfortunately, there was something seriously wrong with this pump. Something which I wouldn't
That's what
be
you
able
gotta do.
to
Just
fix.
pat the machine
This
like,
wasn't
there,
news I
there,
was
girl.
excited to tell the man.
There, there.
But I knew I had to close this pump and eventually let him know that he'd have to move his car. But as I turned around to go inside, I heard a loud thud. I turned around and saw nothing. At first, I thought it was something from my music. Keep in mind, I have one AirPod in this whole time. But that's when I
I
heard
mean, yes, he's talking about children and how popular, what he said, soccer or something is that time of year. I mean, it's his fucking either a pedo or it's a mental sex trafficker, and he has a bunch of kids in the back,
another knock from the van.
or a
This
kid in the
couldn't be
back.
my music. The knocks were random, they had no beat or rhythm, and they clearly weren't any instrument I'd heard of. I tried to peep in the back windows to see what was happening in there, but the back windows were tinted very, very dark. I really couldn't see in there. I then took my AirPod out to get a better understanding of what was even happening.
Get your
and heard another
AirPods in?
thud. This was getting weird. I had to understand what was going on in that damn van. I took out my phone and turned on my flashlight, and I tried to use the flashlight to see better in through the tinted windows. Let's just say it worked, and what I saw horrified me. In the back of the car was a group
Oh,
of children.
wow.
All of them were tied down with their mouths taped closed. All of them looked terrified. The knocking sound was coming from one of the kids kicking the car door as a sign for help.
But he didn't really
My heart
do
sank.
something.
I didn't even know what to do for that second.
Do
Just
something.
stood there, frozen in fear and shock. In that paralyzed moment of fear, that's when it all started to hit me. The man's anger and impatience, his fraudulent card not going through, the way he looked at me in the car as he was going to the
Because he about to
bathroom,
come out there and
I knew
beat
exactly
your
what was
ass.
happening at this moment. After my brain cleared up, I realized I had to stop standing there and quickly go and do something. As I turned around quickly to try and
Oh,
run for help,
fuck.
I bumped right into someone.
And now he's
It was a
crazy.
man.
Crazy
You know,
ass.
It's not polite to snoop around people's stuff, kid. The man told me, rage and anger under his breath. At this point, both of us knew exactly
Man,
what
why
was
ain't you
happening.
putting your
For some
hands on
reason,
this dude?
I thought I could talk my way out of this.
Shit. I'd have punched the dude
You know,
square in
well,
his
you see,
sternum.
But as I was trying to make up some sort of excuse, the man lunged at me. With all of the luck in the world,
Wow.
I managed to dodge him.
See a
Keep in
fucking
mind that
bull?
I'm a rather skinny young man. Thankfully, I had the agility advantage on my side, and I could somehow
The
outmaneuver
agility
him.
of a cat.
As the man was getting back on his feet, I managed to grab one of the windshield cleaning wands from the bucket nearby. Without even thinking, I managed to smack him across the face with it as hard as I could. This seemed to knock him out cold.
And then I
quickly
stomped
smashed
on
open
his
the car windows
head.
using the same rod and let the kids out. All of the kids and I ran inside the store. We locked the doors and called the cops. The man was gaining
Where's the
consciousness
third
by the time
kid?
the cops came, but was handcuffed soon after. I told the police everything, and they instantly had a case. The man was part of a larger kidnapping ring in my state. Off late, their newest strategy was to pretend to be chaperones and kidnap kids from sports games. A lot of these sports teams have transportation services which help bring the kids in and out, and these people managed to find a way of pretending to be them. The kids were all thankfully okay, and they were instantly reunited with their parents.
Where's the
But
third
obviously,
one?
this left a bad stain on our community. A lot of parents stopped using carpools or paid transportation to bring their kids in and out of the games. Some even de-enrolled their children permanently. I couldn't help but imagine what could have happened to those kids if that pump didn't fail, if the terminal just
They
accepted
would
his
have
money and he
fucked
could
up.
drive
That's
off.
what would happen.
Needless to say, I quit 7-Eleven right after that. I was being paid to use a cash register, not deal with kidnappers. It was a cool spring evening, and I was a little more than halfway through a road trip. For a bit of context, I'm a 23-year-old man. I was starting my career as an aspiring actor and model at the time, and things were starting to pick up with my job. I was contacted by a well-known agency in Los Angeles, California, and they said they were willing to do a long-term contract with me and essentially were ready to start work. Obviously, I was thrilled, and while this was a dream come true, there was one issue. I lived in New York,
Damn.
and being a 23-year-old
Wait a minute.
working an almost minimum wage job, I really couldn't afford to just hop on a
You live in New York. There was no jobs in New York for modeling. Now the acting. They have jobs in New York. A lot of jobs like in Atlanta now, but especially the modeling thing.
flight and go over to LA. So when I got the news, I did the math, and I realized that it would actually be a lot cheaper to just drive from New York to California. Now obviously, if I had the money, I would obviously choose flying 6 hours over driving 40 in my dad's old Ford. But hey, money doesn't grow on trees, and I wasn't going to reject this
Goddamn right
opportunity.
about that.
So there I was, about 24 hours into the trip. I had taken a rest somewhere in Kentucky, but was still quite tired. Sleeping in your car is never fun, especially after hours and hours of driving in it. A couple more hours went by and I caught myself in a rural part of West Texas. At this point, I noticed that my car was running a bit low on gas, and most importantly, the low air pressure light was on. My parents have had this car since I was a kid, so obviously I wasn't going to take the risk of just driving with the light on. After all, I wouldn't want to get stuck somewhere on the rural highway. According to the Maps app on my phone, the nearest gas station with an air pump was a local 7-Eleven, about 10 minutes off of my trip's path. It was late at night, 1 a.m. to be specific, but thankfully 7-Elevens are open 24/7. As much as the detour annoyed me, I really didn't have much of a choice. I was honestly lucky that there was even anything open and nearby. I drove up to the 7-Eleven and pulled my car into the nearest pump. I popped open my gas cap and started filling my car, and after a few minutes, surely enough, it was full. But then came the next and arguably most important step, fixing that tire pressure light. While I was out of my car, I tried to look around and look at which tire was tripping off the sensor. But as I was looking around,
They didn't
I
tell
noticed
you?
a shadow from inside the store. It moved somewhat awkwardly. It seemed like one of the store workers was peering out the window, and they backed away instantly when they saw me look over. Well, that's weird, I thought.
That's
Despite the clerk's social
weird.
anxiety, I needed to get to my destination, and I didn't want to spend any more time here than I had to. So I went up to the air pump.
Especially
and
you said
sadly
you in
enough,
West
the air
Texas. You
pump
got a
wasn't
while to go.
self-serve. This meant I had to go inside and talk to that nervous employee for help. Damn it. I walked in the door and looked around, but I didn't see any employees whatsoever. The store was barren, almost like it was up and running and suddenly abandoned. All of the lights were on and the equipment was functioning. The hum of the refrigerators and AC ironically made the silence even creepier.
Oh no, it's
I
the
figured
same
that
store
employee
from the first
before was
story.
somewhere in the back on his
Crazy
break,
person in there.
so I tried to get his attention. Hello? Excuse me?
It
There
looked
was a
like the
long and
same
awkward
store.
pause, followed by a set of steps coming in
Well, I
from
guess
the
they
back.
just selling the same products.
Hello?
Except everything is
anyone there?
reversed.
I asked once again. Another
the
long and
lettering
awkward
is
pause
reversed.
followed, and then eerie sounds of manic laughter.
Fucking
Excuse
crackhead
me?
in here.
Is this some kind of joke? I asked, irritated from the antics. What was going on? Why was this employee acting like a kid? Come on over. Don't be shy, the man said, trying to lure me over to the back.
The Joker?
Don't get me wrong. I was beyond creeped out and confused at this point, but I just wanted him to hit the damn power switch to the pump.
Does he look like
I
an
reluctantly
employee?
walked over to the back to check what was happening. I figured if I just played into this guy's weird game, he'd just listen to me or leave me alone.
Ugh.
So naturally, I reluctantly walked over to the back. There was nothing behind the counter, but there seemed to be a constant
Oh, is that a
giggling
dead
from
body?
the
I
board
saw
that said
something like
employees
a head
only.
for a second. It
My
looked
back was
fucked up.
tense, and pretty much every urge in my body told me not to open the door. But mistakenly, I did. When I opened that door, I saw something I'd never forget for the rest of my life. In the room, there was a 7-Eleven employee, still in his vest and uniform, mutilated on the ground. Behind the employee was the man giggling from before, still chuckling. He was barefoot,
High
sickly
on
looking, and had
goofballs.
tattered, bloody clothing. He then looked at me with manic eyes and started laughing even harder.
Man,
My
I did
feet
a
were
whole
frozen,
ass out
almost
of
like they
there.
were cemented into the ground. But
See, you
then the
tripping.
man's laughter turned into full on screaming, and he started crawling towards me. I quickly slammed the door and darted towards my car. But as I was running, I felt something tug my ankle and trip me from behind.
Damn, he caught
Now
you.
don't leave so early, the man said, trying to drag
I'd
me
have tried to
back.
kick his
I
head
kicked the
off.
man in the face as hard as I could and ran out. I quickly got into my car, locked the doors, and started the engine. As soon as I pulled out of the spot, the crazy man jumped on my hood and started screaming at me to stop the car. I didn't know what else
Yeah,
to
I'll
do,
stop the
so I
car.
just floored it, and that seemed to throw the man off. I kept driving and never looked back, sweating and panting the whole time. Eventually, the tire that was low on air got me, and I had to pull over into another town. I immediately called the local law enforcement and told them everything that happened. When they showed up to the scene, they did not find a single thing. Aside from the dead 7-Eleven worker and raided store with broken glass and flipped over shelves, the police couldn't find anything that could lead them to the man. The police could obviously identify the dead employee, but had no idea who the laughing man was or where he could be. The man was a ghost. I've never told anyone this story, at least not until now, and that's probably for good reasons. I currently live in LA, and while I am still pursuing my career in entertainment, I still sometimes think about where that man could.
Oh, I was like, I thought he just stopped talking. I was like, something about to happen. Well, I guess the moral of the story is don't work at 7-Eleven, I guess. Or have some type of weapon with you. Or I guess don't frequent it either because some of these were customers. And this dude, like, if someone, if you walk in a 7-Eleven and it looks deserted, but it's like it's up and running, but there's no employees there, and somebody laughing, talking about something, come over here and come see or something, like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna go to another gas station unless I'm in an area where, like, you know, I don't know, Nevada. I guess I could think first they come to my where it's maybe gas stations far and in between. Then I might went back to, but even so, but I'm the type of person I carry like knives, uh, retractable baton. I used to have like a short, like a dagger, like it's, a little bit bigger than a knife with me. But I don't know what happened to that. I lost that. I think when I moved from Oklahoma, I lost that. Like I didn't have it. And I don't have it, and I don't know where it's at. So I must have probably because I was throwing away shit too. So I probably accidentally threw away like all my VHS tapes because I didn't have any room. And I'm not renting a truck, a moving truck, because I don't have enough stuff. I had more stuff than I could put in my van, well, truck, and I didn't have enough stuff to justify renting a moving truck, and then paying more to get one of those little hitches to put your car on. So I was like, nah, I just drive my car. Plus, I had my car serviced and everything, so I don't want to have to worry about. I had brand new tires on there, so unless I run over something, I want to worry about the tires. So I didn't want to go through all that, but like, I've driven through a lot of rural areas where it's pitch black, and that was always my fear of being like stranded or being because I've driven through like I lived in Mississippi for a long time, and there are places there where the cell phone signal was just there was no towers. So in that at least in that area they could catch my phone would catch a signal. So my it'd be on like my phone would say like Edge or some shit back in the day, and or it'd just be no signal. and you'd be out there, and if something happened, what are you gonna do? Hopefully, because I know one time I was driving from Oklahoma City to Chicago, and my tire popped around, what was I at? I think I had just gotten out of Oklahoma. I might have been in Missouri. I think I was in Missouri, but tire popped, and now I didn't have a spare, so that was my dumbass. Because I could have, which is funny. I had tire iron, didn't have a spare tire in the car because I just kept putting those. Oh, I'll buy one. I'll buy one. I never bought one, and tire pop. But um, I had USAA at the time, so I said, "Oh, I can call and get a tow truck to come replace my tire." So, because they was like, "Oh, if it's like mechanical work, they'll tow you someplace." But I think they wouldn't tow you more than 100 miles or something like that. But if like your tire popped or you ran out of gas, they'll just bring you the gas or replace the tire and with a donut. And they came out and replaced the tire. I was like, damn, I should have just had I had to spare. Um, which, because I told him, Alfonso, I don't have a spare. So he brought, like one of those. He asked me, well, because he asked me the type of car I had. So I guess they bring the right spare because I had had like I had a Murano at the time. So it's like a truck car or truck. I think they said it's like a truck SUV hybrid or something like that. And he brought a donut out. So, and then when I got to Chicago, I just got the tire replaced. And because I ran over something in the road. I don't know what it was. Because I was like, I'm not gonna get my because the tires on there were, because I had just got the car. The tires hadn't been replaced, but I was like, I just get. I went to a junkyard and just got got a tire and put it on there myself. When I got, I put it on there myself and then drove to a what was it? I think it was a Firestone. I'm not sure, it might have been Jiffy Lube or something like that. And then I told him I put it on and told him to put make sure it's under the right pressure, because you change the tire to tell you to tighten it as hard as you can, but then make sure you go to a mechanic so they can uh, tighten it the proper amount that's supposed to be. But yeah, because like I've been in a bunch of gas stations late at night, driving in different. It's scarier when you in a unknown place, especially if that's the only gas station like around where you've been to places where the only light around is being emitted from that gas station. And those are kind of like scary. And you could tell when I walked in places, the person at the register kind of like looking to see, oh, this is gonna be a fucking nut that I gotta deal with, or this is a regular person. And luckily, and I'm thinking the same thing. Oh, this is a fucking nut that work here was a regular person. And we both relieved because we're just regular people. Just no problem. But yeah. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed my reaction one. If you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell. You want to be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.